Of Allah, who is omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient, and omniscient. Good morning, students. We are going to learn The Lost World by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. I have introduced this novel in my first lecture. We know about the writer of the novel, and we know that it's a science fiction because we have read its introduction. And we also know about its contents, that it has 10 chapters, and there are in activity section there are also 10 chapters, means there are some exercises that we have to solve. Now we are going to read chapter number 1. Please open your books at page number 4, your novel The Lost World. Chapter number 1. When I was a young man in my early 20s, I fell in love with a girl named Gladys Hungerton. Gladys was the most beautiful girl I had ever seen. She had dark hair, large brown eyes, and delicate ivory skin. Unfortunately, Gladys was not in love with me, though we spent many hours together talking and laughing. She regarded me as a friend and nothing more. Despite this, I made the decision to propose to Gladys. I knew there was a chance she would reject my proposal, but I had to try. And so, one cold October evening, I visited Gladys at her house and asked her to marry me. "Oh, Edward," said Gladys after a long pause, "we have such a beautiful friendship. Why can't we simply remain friends?" "Because I love you, Gladys," I exclaimed. "I want to spend the rest of my life with you." Gladys gave me a look of pity. "But I don't love you, Edward, and I have never loved you." "Why can't you love me, Gladys?" I cried. "Is it my appearance?" Gladys squeezed my hands gently. "No, of course not," she said. "Is it my character?" I asked. "Tell me what you want me to change." Gladys sighed. "Edward, let me explain to you what kind of man I want. I want a man who has no fear of death, a man who has traveled the world and who has had many exciting adventures. I want to marry a man who is brave, heroic, and famous." "All right," I said. "If you want a brave and heroic man, I'll do something that will make you proud." Gladys laughed at my enthusiasm. "What are you going to do?" she asked. "I don't know," I replied. "But if I do something great, will you marry me then?" We'll see," said Gladys with a smile. "Now you are working the night shift at the paper and you are running late." I said good night to Gladys and walked briskly to the offices of the Daily Gazette, where I worked as a journalist. When I arrived, I immediately made my way to the news editor's office. Good evening, Mr. McArdle," I said, knocking on the door. "Hello, Mr. Malone," replied Mr. McArdle. "I must say I really enjoyed your latest article. You have done some excellent work for us." "Why, thank you," I said. "What did you want to see me about?" "I would like you to send me on a mission for the paper." "What sort of mission did you have in mind, Mr. Malone?" "An adventure," I replied. "A dangerous adventure." McArdle raised an eyebrow. "You seem very eager to lose your life," he said. "I need to do something heroic," I explained. "My future depends on it." McArdle looked at me curiously. "I'm afraid we only send very experienced journalists on important missions," he said. "Wait a minute, I have an idea. Would you be interested in interviewing Professor George Challenger?" I repeated, the famous zoologist. Didn't he punch a journalist from the Telegraph the other day? McArdle nodded. 2 years ago, Professor Challenger went on an expedition to South America. When he came back last year, he told everyone that he had seen dinosaurs and other strange beasts. Most people think he was lying about what he saw. The journalist from the Telegraph called him a liar too. That's why he punched him. After that encounter, Challenger stopped doing interviews. Perhaps you can convince him to do one last interview. I'm sure our readers would be interested to find out more about his adventures. McArdle handed me a thick file. Here is some information on the professor. You might need it. I took the file and looked through the notes. Do you think he is telling the truth? I asked. McArdle shook his hand. I doubt it very much, he said. All right, I said, I'll pay Professor Challenger a visit. I returned to my office and wrote a letter to the professor asking him to meet me the following Wednesday. Then I spent the rest of my shift reading through McArdle's notes. I had no idea then that my interview with Professor Challenger was about to change my life forever.